Paloma Young, and I am the costume designer for Peter and the Starcatcher. Well, it's a super bonus because it's definitely the highest profile show that I've ever done, and now I won a Tony Award for it, so it's always going to have that big, gold star next to it on the resume. What was exciting to me is how it's a play about storytelling, and it's not as much a play about. I went and read the book before I did my interview, and the Dave Barry and Ridley Pearson, Peter and the Starcatchers, and it's very fun adventure story. But the play is really a play about storytelling. My father was a photographer, and he is also a romantic and a dreamer, and he would teach photography clinics in the Caribbean. And I grew up on those boats with my dad. We would sleep on the top of the boats on the deck because it's really stuffy in the cabins. And he would make up stories involving like the young princess, this thinly veiled version to be like the Lord and the young princess, or on the high seas, and there would be pirates. I almost don't want the story to get out because then people are like, well, how can you do our show about like not living on a boat with your single father? I like to do collages of both period and sort of feeling, and especially since we were infusing, we wanted a contemporary, modern, young feel to a lot of the ensemble. So this was a collage, and there's period Victorian drawings of schoolgirls, photographs. Some of these are actual guys from late 19th century, and then some of these are from fashion magazines. And I was like looking at ways to collage found objects to feel sort of like a mix between modern day punk rock and 1885. These are actual British orphans. I love like looking and finding all of these small individual details in the research, like the way that his pants are split open and his knees coming out, or the way that like the wool is so worn that it wrinkles in and it's too tight. And so this is where a lot of like the distressing ideas came from. This is an early picture that I brought in. I just really liked his hair and his spirit and the sort of opening up of the, like he's showing a lot of skin, and that's what we do in the show. Is Peter starts out, he's all covered up. He's got his thumbs in his sweater. He's very moody, indie rock boy, and then he starts to open up when he sort of learns how to be a person from Molly, and then in Act 2, like with all of the tearing of the shipwreck of the clothes, like his sleeves get really short, and we see more of his chest and his neck, and he's just more open. This is actually a Black Stash inspiration. I like how dandy he looks, but he looks a little bit dangerous. But if I had actually put him in this outfit with like the super cool jodhpurs, and I think fashion, especially fashion when it's done all styled up like this, is sort of distancing. It's adding a layer between the audience that looks at it. It's like looking at something static on a wall. It's a beautiful object, but our clothes need to move. So there's a practical problem of like, if you have all of these kind of accessories and interesting like draped pieces, they're not gonna stay that way. And then there's the problem of just like making a picture that isn't people, because you really need to be able to see the people underneath. This is a mermaid collage. What you don't see in this collage is the actual collage that we ended up creating on stage, which is all of these found objects. We used spoons and as scales and juicers instead of starfish. I think the show is really rewarding in that the collage aspect and the sort of scavenging aspect, and I got to get rid of so much stuff they just keep around. Like we use a lot of these vintage beer cans on the mermaids. I've had this box of keys that has slowly dwindled. But I incorporated them into the crowns. I had old broken watches that are also in one of the mermaid crowns. And I love trying those crazy things. And you don't get to do that on Broadway a lot because there's so much financially at stake. And you're playing to a very broad audience. And a big part of that broad audience is young people who have not seen the theater before. And what I love about Peter is that the audience is actually creating the world. It's such an important thing to have happen to them at a young age, to feel like they can go home and recreate these stories, and every time the story will be different and they'll add their own things, and just to feel like there is an open door. We've opened the door for them, but they can continue to open their own doors.